If you guys loved Ellie's story, head over to our YouTube channel and you can finish the whole story there. So tonight we have John. John actually is in where are you? Like a vineyard or something?
Well, we got this little Airbnb because the kids are on spring break, and it's not too far from home, but it's this old like ranch kind of thing. And apparently we have terrible internet. I don't even know if I'm streaming right now. Apparently you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah, we can.
But
hear
my
you
upload
now.
speed is like 0.7, and the download speed is like 5. So it's about 100 times worse than what I'm used to. So I don't know how well I'm gonna be able to work right now.
Yeah. So I told John that if it goes out, we'll just continue the show. So because we invited a guest. So I met this girl named Kelly through Instagram. You guys, she's amazing. She told me her story and I was like, we have to have you. I hear this story all the time from people. But let me just give you a little background about Kelly before we get started. So Kelly is, she told me her age. I don't know. I guess I can share it, but she's 44 years old. So she lives in Alabama, where HGTV just filmed Hometown Takeover with Ben and Aaron. So I'm a big HGTV fan, but haven't watched that. She's married to an IT guy, and they have 5 kids ranging from 10 to 21. She went to nursing school after a 20-year break raising her kids and was inspired to become a NICU nurse because of her own NICU graduate. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit as we get going. So I'm sure she'll give you guys all that information. She just recently scored a job. She's telling John and I, she just recently scored a job at her local hospital in the NICU as a NICU nurse. She will be graduating in 55 days. So you guys, let's introduce Kelly here. So hi, Kelly.
Hey.
John, do you want to give this a go or do you want to just kind of hop out?
Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. If I get booted off, I get booted off, and I sincerely apologize, but we'll see.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys start talking.
Yeah, Tammy did a great job introducing, and I had a moment to catch up with Kelly. Was that yesterday?
It was.
Only? Geez. Goodness. And it's a really exciting story. Yeah, it's a really exciting story, and I think why I really wanted to tell Kelly thank you and publicly in front of everybody is just everyone that goes through nursing school has a challenge. Everyone has a couple challenges even, but what I like about Kelly's story is that she's faced a lot of challenges that a lot of people face, all rolled into one in her journey. And so I think that what she'll be able to share will help a lot of people. And I think just from the title of this webinar, how to raise your grade by 12 points. So not only did she face all these things and go through nursing school with the pandemic and all of that other stuff, she also did it while she saw her grades improve, and just an incredible success story. And congratulations of passing, graduating soon, and landing a job in kind of the dream location. So what did I miss, Kelly? You want to introduce yourself a little more and tell some of your story?
Tammy covered most of it. We live in Central Alabama. I go to a school over in Montgomery. We're right near Montgomery, about 30 minutes away. So it's an associate's program. I started back in 2019 in January, and I will finish up in May. So so it would be nice if y'all had a filter on here for like exam day face filter. We had our 3rd exam this morning, so I'm exhausted from that. Oh
my God.
So I took my exam and got promptly in bed and slept for the rest of the day. So.
And what was this last exam on?
The renal system, the pancreas, the liver, and fluid volume shock. So.
That's a lot of stuff.
It was a lot of stuff. Yeah, we have one about every 3 to 4 weeks. So it's about 16 hours of lecture per test.
So most important question, though, what is the countdown app that you're actually using to count down the days till graduation?
I don't know. It was a free one that was on my phone. It was like for weddings, I think. So when I pull it up, it has a graduation cap, and then on the top of it, it says wedding countdown, which is I'm not doing that again. So.
Just don't let your husband see that, and you'll know.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your nursing journey, and then we'll kind of move forward slowly to what got you here. So initially, why did you decide to go to nursing school, and what kind of drew you into this profession a little bit later in life?
Yeah, definitely a second career choice, or I guess a first career choice. I didn't finish college the first time I started. I go to Troy in Montgomery, and they have a lot of campuses. I actually started at Troy at their main campus 20 some odd years ago. I graduated in 1995 from high school in Florida, and actually started at Troy in Alabama. Started as a music major and got married, went to a small Christian school up in Georgia before that, and didn't graduate, started as a Christian ministries major there, got married, had a bunch of kids, went through a nasty divorce, got remarried, and we have our little boy together. And so my husband married into the craziness of wife and 4 kids, and he said, let's have a baby. And I was like, okay.
All right.
So we have a baby together, and our baby is now 10. And he was diagnosed about midway through my pregnancy with multiple, well, he wasn't diagnosed with his heart defects. That was a surprise, but he had a congenital diaphragmatic hernia. So those of y'all who are in nursing school, if you've been through peds, you've probably heard about that a good bit. We had never heard of it, had to have somebody spell it and literally and scientifically spell it out for us. So we spent a little over 6 months with him in the NICU between, he was born in Montgomery, spent an hour there. They air flighted him to Birmingham to the Children's Hospital there. And he spent the next 6 months there having open heart surgery and CDH surgery. He was on ECMO for a week, and he had a less than 20% chance of making it, and made it home on oxygen and a bunch of meds. But he is in 4th grade doing virtual school right now, and he's, in the honors program, gifted ed at his school. He plays soccer and basketball, and he's smart and funny and witty and quippy, and he's a mess. And so he's kind of what inspired me to do this. And I thought I always loved my labor and delivery nurses through my pregnancies and deliveries, and had never really thought about nursing. It wasn't on my radar at all. And we had some of the most spectacular nurses at Children's and at UAB who took the best care of him. So I knew when I went home at the end of the day, somebody was saving him when I left. He was in good hands. And I thought, maybe I'll think about that. And it hasn't ever left my mind. So I decided I'm 40. That's what I want to be when I grow up. And why not now? All my kids are in school. I've got 2 in college. And I thought maybe if I start now, I can beat my college kids through and get my degree before they get theirs.
Did that happen? Have you done that, or
say again?
Did you beat them through?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Neither of them have finished yet. One of them is in the Air Force, so he took a little bit more time getting started. And then I've got a daughter who is not quite done yet either. So
it sounds like this kind of really traumatic experience with your last child is kind of what introduced you to nursing, and it hadn't really entered your mind before this, it sounds like. So
right.
You apply, you get into nursing school. What's that first day like? What's that first semester like?
It was kind of terrifying. I knew I was an older student going back to school. I didn't know what to expect. We have a really cool program though, and it's a very diverse program. We've got a lot of moms in there. We've got several people who are my age, a couple of people who are a little bit older. So it wasn't the, 18, 19, 20, 21, oh my gosh, I don't fit in here kind of feeling. We've got a few guys in our program who are really cool. And it's a really neat program. And the professors, a lot of them have been through the program at the same campus that we're in. And they said, if you can make it through this program, you can do anything. You can get through the RN bridge. If you want to go, and do nurse practitioner, you can do that. But this will be the hardest thing you ever do. So pretty much plan not to have a social life. You don't see your family. You don't have friends. You've got to kind of buckle down and nose to the ground and get it done. But it was scary. It's the scariest thing I've done. It's the hardest. I tell my husband all the time, this is the hardest brain thing I've ever done. I've done a lot of hard emotional things, but this is the hard in my head thing that I've ever tried to do, but probably the most empowering and most exciting. And I've never felt like I was in the right spot more than I do right now, about to go into this career.
That's great. That's incredible to hear. And I think, as we get more and more people into this that feel that it's like, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, whatever, blah, 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 all the other stuff. But this is right for me, and I'm going to keep pushing through. And you talked about it being really empowering. And I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with a lot of nursing, some of that empowerment comes from these big challenges we overcome. We do this, we're like, God, I never thought I was that strong. Maybe you can tell us about one of those moments where it was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Maybe I should stop. But then that power comes at the end of the tunnel. Talk us through some of that.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are nurses, whether they were our NICU nurses or just close friends who are nurses from high school and college days. And they all kind of explain that nursing school is a roller coaster. And I was like, okay, that's a good analogy. And it couldn't be more accurate. I mean, it literally, when you have class 2 or 3 days in a row, right now we don't, but in the first few semesters when you've got class almost every single day, Monday you'll get in the car and you'll head home from class and you'll have your sunroof back and you're playing your music and everything's great. And you think, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then you go home and you study and you go to bed and you wake up and you get up on Tuesday and you get in your car and you go to lecture on Tuesday and you come out of class and you get back in your car and you say, I'm the dumbest person on the face of the planet. I'm never going to graduate. I'm never going to understand the words that are coming out of these professors' mouths. It's a whole different language. I can't do this. And then by the time you get home, you're crying. And your husband is like, yesterday you were fine. What happened? And you just say, I went back to class. That's all that happened. Nothing more than that happened. I just went to a different class. And it is the most up and down, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. And those of y'all who have been there, you know exactly what it feels like. It is a literal roller coaster. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people in our program who have been PCTs and who have done externships through our program. And I walked into clinical the first time, and those students were so smart and put together and knew how to take their PPE off, like in the right order, and knew what to do with the blood sugar test. And I was just like, I have no idea. Like, I've been in the NICU as a mom. That's the only clinical experience I have. And I don't discount that, but it's not the same. They know the names of the things that are in the supply room with the weird nicknames that, the nurses and techs will just throw out a nickname. Oh, it's called a this. And so they go and get the this. And I don't know what that word means. And when you go in the supply room and look on the little tab, that's not what it's called.
Right.
So
right.
It is, it was just a very foreign feeling, but fortunately, I've had some really great nurses in my clinicals. I've had some great professors and some adjuncts who have walked us through it, who have said, everybody has to start somewhere. You get the nurses every once in a while who think they did not ever go to nursing school. They were never a first-time nurse. And, they look down on you a little bit, but the majority of the experiences have been really good. And so it's just a reminder that, okay, they started here too, and they didn't get lost in the supply room, or to stay anyway. They found their way back out with the thing in their hand eventually. So
yeah, I'm trying to. One of my first clinicals as a student, I remember that. I remember them sending me to the supply closet. I'm like, all right, I got it. I know what they're asking for. I get there. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even remember the code to get in. Finally, I get in. And I'm just looking around, and then I ended up being in a different supply closet for some other weird random thing. And you just feel, and I like the way you explained it, that you sit there and you study and you're like, oh my God, I got this. Then you go and you realize, oh man, I don't have it as much as I want to have it. And it's this continual like ping pong between feeling adequate and feeling inadequate, and just back and forth and back and forth. And I think that's good to share with people, so they realize like these downs that you might be having now, like you'll bounce back and you'll get to that point. And on that note, what we talked about with the topic for tonight was how you were able to raise your grade by 12 points. That's incredible. Like, that's phenomenal. Do you want to share some of how you did that, what you found helped, and that process that you used to see that incredible success?
Sure. So most of the semesters, I'm in my 5th semester, and most of the semesters you have multiple classes. So our 4th semester, we had 3 classes, 3 clinicals. It was the whole lifespan. We had pediatrics, we had OB, and we had geriatrics. And then we had 3 clinicals, and we had a pandemic. So we were doing virtual clinicals. If y'all do shadow health, we saw a lot of Tina. So we did a lot of that. Then we did some in-person clinicals. Then we did some stuff in the lab. And so at the end of the semester, there's a professor from my first semester, Dr. Hodges, that I still keep up with. And she said, do not be fooled that in 5th semester, you only have 2 classes. Do not think that it's going to be easy because you're going from 6 classes to 2 classes. It's not easy. Don't quit. And I said, okay, I've heard that from other students too. And so I kind of tried to, get my head in the game that way. But you get in there and you literally, we have 1 lecture a week. It's 4 hours long and it's intense. And then we have preceptorship hours and clinical hours. So, you have to know, well, I leave class on Wednesday, and it's really deceiving because you have until the next Wednesday to do whatever you want to do some weeks, and you have to remember, I should probably open my book and I should probably go over the notes, but then you get home and you're like, oh, but I have, Netflix and I have YouTube TV that recorded Grey's Anatomy for me. And well, what else can I do? And I also have kids that I'd like to spend time with and a husband that I like to see. And it's hard to manage that time. And I got up to my first exam, about a month into the semester, and I failed it. I got a 70. And I think most nursing programs are the same. Anything below a 74 is failing, which whatever. I still don't understand that. I still don't think it's right, but I don't want somebody who makes a 70 operating on me or my family members. So I guess it's the right thing. But a 74 is not an easy grade to get in nursing school. And I got a 70, and I'm used to getting A's and B's. And I was like, this is not a great way to start the semester off. And I thought, well, something has to change. I've got to have something scheduled other than a class once a week. So I had used nursing.com back when it was NRSNG without the vowels. And I had used it for pharmacology, just the trial version to get through an exam. It was fantastic. I mainly used the app for questions just to see kind of where my weaknesses were. So when I went to look for a program, I was like, I don't know what the other ones do. I don't know how they're set up, but I know nursing.com is a solid program. I mainly loved it because you guys kept popping up in my feed. You were still there with encouraging messages. When I wasn't using your program, y'all were still like, you can do this. And I was like, okay, John, I can do this, but I don't think I can really.
But I don't believe you.
Yeah. So that was, I think y'all were running the $1 for 3 days special. And so I had a weekend that I needed to spend studying. So I was like, well, I'll sign up for the weekend. I'll get the free trial. I'll print out all the cheat sheets, and then I'll cancel my membership. And I'll have all the free stuff to take with me. And by the time the weekend got over, I was like, can't cancel this. This is fantastic. So I had not used any of the videos or really any of the printouts when I used it for pharmacology. So I found this huge wealth of information that I was able to print out, and diagrams that made sense to me, and the little short, blurbs of lectures that had just all this great, it was like going back to class and hearing the same stuff, but then being able to hit pause whenever I needed to, which you can't do with your professors. And being able to slow down, rewind it, go back, write all the, the bullet points out, write all the key points at the end to see kind of where I was, and then having something you can go back to. So before the exam, you can go back and listen to that lecture, you didn't get 100%, or you can go back and reread the notes you took, and you can sit in bed at night. I use my app all the time to pull up questions. So that second test coming up was a cardiac test. And while I have a heart baby, I do not know all about the heart. Contrary to popular opinion, when you're a heart mom, you do not know the anatomy of the heart as well as you should. I did not operate on my son's chest. So I knew there was a lot of pressure. I needed to make better than a 70. So I poured all my time into my 4 hours in class, and then I scheduled time with nursing.com the rest of the time between classes. And I did. I went from a 70 to an 82 on that test, and I was excited because I knew that was going to be my weakest area. It was going to be cardiac. And I was like, okay, I did, like, that was all hard. And I kept hearing everybody say that test was impossible. I did terrible. I failed. And I was like, I have a thing for you. Let me tell you about this thing. So I'm sure my friends are sick of hearing about it. But yeah, so I've told the girls that I mentor about it. I've told my classmates about it. I'm like, y'all sign up, get the free trial, get your stuff printed out, and then you're not going to cancel. You pay your $30 or $35 a month. We've only got so many months till graduation. This is amazing. So it's been a game changer for me because it gives me something else to focus on. You know, there's only so much you can do with voice files from your professors that you've recorded. It's the same lecture. It's going to sound the same words that they said in class that I didn't understand. And so this is kind of, it doesn't dumb it down. It just makes it more simple, and it brings out the most important pieces of it without all the fluff attached to it and without all the classroom interruptions and coughing in the background and, you know, the water breaks and everything that we took in class being on my voice recorder. So it's been good. It's been really, really good.
So first of all, congratulations. That's a huge improvement, and I think that's phenomenal. And you mentioned a couple ways that you used it, and so I want to see if we can break that down a little bit and tell me where I get off track. So it sounds like you would go to class, kind of hear the lecture, record it and stuff, but then come back to nursing.com and listen to the associated lecture. Mm-hmm. And with that, you would, you know, kind of pause it as you would go, take notes on it, and maybe see how they correlate with what you took in class. And then print out the cheat sheets that are included with the lessons, look at the mnemonics, the pictures, and use the questions, it sounds like, a lot from the app. So then you would kind of go back to the app, and when you have downtime, take those questions that are on those same lessons.
Right.
Is that kind of how you used it, or?
Yeah. And I left out too the quizzes that are after each of the lectures. Those are really helpful too, because every once in a while you'll run into a question. You'll be like, oh, I didn't hear that on the lecture. And then you're like, I should go back. And so I go back to that part in the lecture, and it's not that it wasn't there. It's that I was at the coffee shop and I trailed off because somebody walked past with their cute dog, or, you know, I took a sip of my coffee and my brain went someplace else. So yeah, it's nice that it's there. And then those questions are kind of big red flags of here's what you know, here's what you don't know, here's what you need to spend more time with, here's what, you know, you've got solidified.
And it sounds like you said, there's a couple of words you said, which we hear a lot from people, is cutting the fluff, that it kind of, yeah, you had the 4-hour lecture. Yeah, you sat through class. It's not like you stopped going to class or stopped listening or anything like that. You just use this to kind of siphon through all that was dumped in your brain during the 4-hour lecture, kind of pull out those other pieces, and then using the questions and the study tools to really drill in on what you the must know stuff. Right.
And it's, you know, the only frustrating part has been, like I said, that I didn't start this first semester, because you've got the things, you know, like this past week, I went through and listened to all the renal lectures for my kidney section in my test. And if I had listened to all those lectures first semester and had a better foundation, and it's not that it wasn't taught well, we had fantastic professors, but it wasn't solid in my head from day one. Whereas these lectures that I'm hearing now in class could be building on a solid foundation. And your brain has a way of checking out when the professor says a sentence that you don't understand. You know, they'll say something, and because you don't have that foundation, you're like, I have no idea what they just said. I'm not smart. And then you get in your head in class and you're just like, so for the next 10 minutes, you don't really hear what they say. You're just playing in your head, I'm not going to pass nursing school. I'm not going to pass this exam. I have so much work to do. Why don't I know this? I'm in 5th semester. I'm about to be practicing by myself on an actual live patient, not Tina, you know, like a real life person who could die. And this is important information to know. I should know this. And so then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm still in class. I should be listening. And you've lost 15 minutes of learning because you trailed off because you convinced yourself you were dumb.
Yeah. So I did the math the other day, and actually I'm looking through a couple fundamentals textbooks right now.
I have that one.
I was kind of looking through a couple things today, and you know, these textbooks are 1,800 pages. And so I did the math a couple years ago, actually, and it would take reading 8 hours a day for several weeks just to read an entire textbook. You couldn't finish it in a semester if you were to sit and read it. So you have all that. You have the 4-hour lecture. You have clinical. You have all this. So there's already so much to learn. How did you, maybe initially, and then how do you justify adding something else? That's what a lot of people, well, how am I going to add nursing.com? Because we consider it a supplement. It is a supplement. It's to help fill in those gaps, help pull out what you really need to know. How did you find time to justify adding something else to that?
I guess in hindsight, I didn't look at it as adding something else. I mean, to me, it was tools. It was, we had some things in our books that were diagrams. We had some things in our books that were tables of, key points or key signs and symptoms of this disease process. But you guys have that all in one place. So without discounting my professors and what they're doing for us, they lecture, and a couple of them do some handouts, and some of them are really helpful. But this has a way of consolidating everything. I know based on that cardiac test, I know that if I print out all the things that y'all have given me, then I'm going to pass the test.
Right.
Our professors are really good about staying on topic. They will say out loud, if they're teaching something at that lecture, what I'm about to say is not in your book. It's in this handout that I just gave you. Otherwise, it's in the book. They're not all about tricks and, crazy things to try to make you fail. They want to see us succeed. Their tests are crazy hard. And, there's no getting around that. There's no way to make that not the case, but they want to see us succeed. But so I guess to answer your question, I didn't really add anything. I think I may have just traded some things out and simplified. And at the risk of my professor seeing this, I didn't open the book for the cardiac tests.
Kelly, you'll be surprised. No, you'll be surprised how many people say that. And I don't ever tell people that that's an outcome but the number of times that we hear people say that. And I think what's really incredible with it is it's not just this test. It's this confidence that you're getting now too. It's the fact that you've got a job in a place that you want to work. It's the fact that, all this stuff is also happening. And I think kind of to your point too, with these 4-hour classes and just listening to you rattle off the things that are on this one exam, I mean, renal, liver, acid, I mean, it's like, that is more than you can learn for a single test. It is just more, and that's the pace of nursing school. If we were to drag nursing school out to as long as it needs to be to learn all this stuff, we're talking 10 years. It's medical school then.
Yeah.
There's just so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so much to learn. And I look at a lot of students' syllabi all the time. And I look at, this lecture is over 4 body systems. And it's like, God, you can't get what you need. And it's not the fault of the educators. It's not the fault of the textbooks. It's that students need this additional help to really show them, kind of help them get the blinders on and say, okay, this though is what I need to know really, really, really well. And that's what we try to do, with the video, with the multimodal resources, with the questions. It's like you said, kind of pushing everything back to that one point of, this is the piece. When we talk liver, these are the things, and this is the piece to know about these things. What would you say your preferred learning style is, or how do you like to learn?
I am a very visual, tactile learner. I like to touch things, and so I print out diagrams, I color them, just to kind of say, okay, I need a night off to spend with my family, so I can sit down in front of the TV and be here with you guys, but I can also color a diagram of the blood flow in the heart. So things like that work really well for me. I'm not a great artist, but, drawing things out, how the blood flow, where it goes, where it starts, where it ends, things like that. But I'm very visual. So like the things, I love the drawings on, is it Nicole that claims that she's the best artist in the world? I love all of her drawings. She makes me feel like I'm an artist, but But I love, just anytime there's something drawn out in a chart, anything visual. I'm not a great audio learner. So like when I hear lectures, I can hang in for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and our professors are good to give us breaks. But, it is nice having things recorded that you can pause when your brain has had enough, and you can go look at a diagram. You can go color something. You can go, put your hands on something. And I can't remember what you guys call them, where you've got the the biological diagrams where it's all very
biodigital
interactive.
things,
And you can get in there and turn it and look at it, and cool stuff like that. Things like that are really neat to me, where you can really see how things are working, and it makes it all click.
And that's, I think, the advantage that we have is versus just a single nursing school is that, we have tens of thousands of people that we can look at and say, this is working for tens of thousands, not just 20 or 30 in a cohort, but this is working. And what we've seen is, I'm not surprised that you're a visual learner, you prefer the visual stuff, because for those people who are great at reading textbooks, there's a solution already there for you. It's the textbook. And the guy I used to study with, Terang, actually, who did some of the pharmacology videos, he was my study buddy in nursing school, and he's a CRNA now. But I would study with him and get so frustrated because we'd sit there and read the book, and he's like, boom, got it. Can recite the whole chapter. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, you love to hate those people. I had terrible reading
but he was so
skills. Terrible.
Brilliant. Then he was able to help me sit there and draw it out. And once he would draw it, then I'm like, got it. Okay. So I think that's the biggest lesson, I think, for people here. And it sounds like from your story is, the 12 points weren't some cheat that you found. It was additional studying. It wasn't that you stopped studying or stopped working hard or, took a shortcut. It's that you found a way that worked for your brain. And you found those resources inside nursing.com and a way to make it work for you. You used the app, you used the videos, you used all kinds of different ways. And then one thing you did mention that I wanted to call out, and maybe you can maybe elaborate on, is you talked about you had scheduled time to use nursing.com. Is that something you actually scheduled, or was it just you just used it? How did you get yourself to sit down and do this?
Yeah. So I told my husband at the beginning of this semester, back when COVID started, he's an IT guy, and he actually works for our hospital system that I'm going to work for. So they were nice enough to send all the IT people home. So he's been working from home. So he has basically handled virtual school and grocery shopping and a lot of dinner plans. Unfortunately, we've been isolated away from our older kids because they're going to face-to-face school. So in addition to doing nursing school during a pandemic, I'm also separated from 4 of my 5 kids to keep the littlest one safe. So he's got a lot of damage from his surgeries when he was little. So if he got COVID, it would be a bad situation. So we're trying to keep him safe until we can all get vaccinated. And so in the meantime, I knew that I had this class, this one class that I had to pass to graduate. So that is all that stands between me. And then in addition to that, we have 132 preceptor hours and 16 clinical hours and labs and, all these practice NCLEX tests and courses. So I told my husband, I said, I've got to treat this semester like it's a job, like it's a 40-hour-a-week job. And I'm going to go to my job every day of the week. And so, my office is typically the Books A Million patio or the Panera patio, because until I got vaccinated fully a few weeks ago, I couldn't safely go into restaurants. And I'm still not, because the weather's nice right now. So I'm still enjoying being outside, but I've been outside in 40-degree weather studying. I've been outside in 90-degree weather studying. I got a swing for my tree in my backyard so I could study there. But yeah, I have intentionally carved out time to say these are my study hours for the day. I'll be home at dinner, just like I would if I was going to work for 8 or 12 hours. And then I go and I get it done. But that's what, I don't even take the book, I'll if I've printed out some things from the book, I'll take that with me. But for the most part, I take my laptop, I take, notebook paper, I take the notes I've taken in class, I take our PowerPoint printouts from class. And then I'll go and I'll listen to the lectures. I just type into the search box, or I'll go to the little courses tab and I'll pull up whatever body system we're working on, and I'll find everything that's involved in that. I didn't realize until the end of my cardiac studying that there was a lesson plan, that there was like a way to plan your study time. Like I didn't know that was there. I know now, but I didn't know that. So I had not utilized that, but to have a study plan with the program. So that's great. I'll have to figure that out too. But just really scheduling study hours, and my study hours became my time with nursing.com. And so I go someplace where there's Wi-Fi and I turn it on and put my headphones in and we hang out for the day.
Yay. Cool. So yeah, you have what your class has given you, the lectures, the PowerPoints, the notes you've taken there, and then But when it's study time, it's kind of those become the supplement, and nursing.com becomes the home base for that.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And how did you keep that focus with the 40-degree weather, with the pandemic, with everything? When a day comes that you don't want to study, how do you crack open the website, open the app, and start studying? How do you keep that focus, that motivation?
You have to remind yourself of your why. Why are you doing this to begin with? If everybody could be a nurse, nobody would be doing it. It's the hardest thing in the world. And if there's anything else that you can find that makes you happy, you need to do that thing instead. Because if this is not the only thing you want to spend the rest of your life doing, find another career. My daughter was an education major, and she changed majors. And I told her, I said, the education system doesn't need people who don't want to be teachers teaching school in any grade. And the medical system doesn't need people who don't want to be nurses being nurses. They need people who want to be there, especially right now. So I have the fortune of having my kid who's here, who survived all of the things that life dealt him. And that's who I get to come home to at the end of my study session. And I get to see him and see the scars on his neck and his belly and his chest and say, that's what I want to do. I want to go to work and take care of kids like that, and take care of families like mine who, we had, like I said before, we had amazing nurses who are still part of my life. They check in, they have cheered me on louder than anybody I know. And I wrote that down before we got on our call. It's so important to have cheerleaders, whether it's your husband or your wife or your partner or your parents or a nurse who has finished this recently, or somebody that you have had as a preceptor, a friend of yours that's a nurse, somebody who is just a semester ahead of you, anybody who can say, you're having a bad day. Remember what you did 2 weeks ago when you passed that test and you were so excited about it, because it's hard to remember that when you're in the middle of, despair. I had a test this morning. I didn't do as well as I would have liked to on the test. I'm still passing the class, and I have to just chalk it up as, okay, here's some things you've got to do to change the way you study for the next one. We had spring break over this test part. And so I knew that I trashed some hours with that and, didn't focus as much as I should have, but, get back in the game. Tomorrow's a new day. We have class tomorrow. I've got to do better on the next test, and I will, but you need to have people who are in your corner who are saying, you can do this, and remember why you want to do this. And, like I said, I get to see my kid and say, he's my reason. He's my why.
I think the having cheerleaders is really important. And that's one of the reasons we have the private Facebook group for members of nursing.com. It's not everything I want it to be. Eventually, someday, I think it'll be, a more curated group and stuff like that. But that was one of the reasons for that. Is I was lucky enough to go through nursing school with my wife. And so I had somebody there. But I know there's a lot of people who don't have spouses, or who don't have family or anything like that. And so if you have no one else, find an anonymous buddy who can that you can complain to. We all need those days we can complain, and we can have those bad days, and because it's going to get like that. And I was reading an article the other day that attrition in nursing school is about 28%. It's about 10% higher than all other bachelor's degrees. And it's very hard. I think, like Kelly was saying, that you are going to have those moments when you think about quitting. But it's also very hard to get into nursing school. If you guys are in nursing school, you are smart enough. It's not a matter of being smart enough. It's not a matter of anything like that you're going to fail out. Find those resources, find those people, and you will be able to get through. If I can do it, trust me, you can do it. And it's hard. It is, but it's worth it, and you'll be able to get through. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here. So what else would you like to say, Kelly? What would you say to somebody who's in that place that you were in a few weeks ago when you got that test back and you're like, one semester left and I'm going to fail out? What would you tell that person today? It can be about nursing.com, but also, just encouragement and things like that too.
I think it's important to reward yourself. When you have a victory, when you pass that check off that you weren't sure you were going to pass. I have treated myself into, probably 20 pounds of weight with, Starbucks treats and,
Let's blame it on COVID though. It's COVID.
And other things. So I didn't gain my freshman 15 the first time I went to college, but I've made up for that this time. But, self-care is important. It's underrated. And whatever that looks like for you, find a treat. If it's getting a massage at the end of the semester, if it's going on a date with your boyfriend or your husband or whoever your person is, if it's, buying a new pair of shoes, if it's, okay, well, I got through first semester and I didn't die, so I'm buying that pair of On Clouds or Hokas or whatever it is that makes your feet happy for your next set of clinicals. And then remind yourself of your why. Even if you have to print it out and hang it on your fridge and your rearview mirror and your mirror where you get ready every morning, on your dashboard, wherever it is, put it on your background screen on your phone. Remind yourself why you started the journey in the first place, and that you can. There are people who are way less qualified who have made it through. My husband reminds me, I've met people who are nurses, and I don't know how they became nurses, but they did. And if they can do it, you can do it. There's always somebody who's going to be smarter than you, who intimidates you. That your journey is not their journey. Your journey is your journey. Their why is going to be different. Their learning style is going to be different. They may be a textbook reader, and that may make you so mad you could just throw things at their face, but you're going to learn in a different way. And you may end up being somebody who excels in the clinical setting more than you do in a test taking setting. And that's okay too. I had a professor who told me that. She said, test taking makes you an anxious wreck, and that's okay. But you have to take tests to get through nursing school. You can't quit. You can't just not test. And so you're going to have to learn your strategies to get through that. So I did. I've gotten on anxiety medication. I take an as needed pill before I take my exams. It works for me. I've been to some therapy during school. That works for me. It's not for everybody, but it's important to make sure that somehow you're making time to take care of yourself too. Because if you're going in empty to study, if you're going in empty to take a test, you're spinning your wheels. And there are too many tools out there to help, whether it's things in addition to this program or just starting with this program. It's a good first step. And then you can kind of analyze and see where you are and see what else you may need to supplement that with. But yeah, if you can keep your focus and realize this is not forever. I'm not going to it feels like it. It feels like you're going to be in nursing school until you die, or that they're just going to find you in the parking lot with your books on top of you. But it's a season. It's a season, and it has gone by so fast. And it's almost here. So
yay. I will just tell everyone to really listen to. I know Kelly said a lot there, but there were some really good gems there, and I would say listen to those, because it's very clear she's successfully gone through nursing school. And I'm not talking grades here. I'm talking emotionally and everything. She's successfully done this. And I'll say listen to her, because I didn't successfully go through nursing school. If we talk emotions and stuff like that, a lot of you guys know my story. I withdrew before I even finished and had to take a whole year off. And it came down to a lot of the things that she mentioned there, comparing myself to others, or myself to others. Really, this is not a race. Life isn't a race. Don't compare. Just do you. And the whole idea of anxiety, that was an enormous thing for me, and I never found a good outlet. I had too much pride to get the help that I needed when I was in nursing school. But recently I did a survey with a lot of our users, and you're not alone in feeling anxious. You're not alone in feeling dumb. You're not alone in if you have ADHD or dyslexia or any of these things. These are the incredible people who use nursing.com, who traditional education isn't meeting your needs. And that's what we're here for. Whether it's anxiety, whether it's ADHD, whether it's dyslexia, whether it's visual learner, and it's just too much to get through. That's what we're here for. But just realize you're not alone. You're not alone. And so much of what we do feels like we're alone in this journey, but you're not. There's people here who have your back. Kelly believes in you. I believe in you. We all believe in you. We know you can do it. I guess that's my tangent there. Just you're not alone. You can do this. Kelly, is there anything else you'd like to add before Tammy jumps in here?
I guess that's it. I did find this semester especially, it's okay to readjust your expectations. if you came in as a 4.0 student from your prereqs, it's okay to shoot for A's. Like, yeah, do that. Shoot for A's. But if a 74 is what you get, go buy that Starbucks or that pair of Hokas. Like, you're going to pass with a 74. And it's okay to readjust your expectations and your bar. It's okay that your bar is a little bit lower than it used to be. My hospital did not ask me what my GPA was when they asked me if I wanted to work for them. They just said, send us a copy of your diploma when you graduate and you're hired. So it's hard. It's hard to go in knowing, okay, well, I'm not going to get the grades I've always gotten, but you're still going to come out as much of a nurse as everybody else who has RN behind their name. It's still the same thing.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm watching the chat here, and there's a lot of people talking about the anxiety thing. So I'll say one more thing on it. And I don't remember exactly, but it was something like 60% of our users have diagnosed anxiety. And so it is such, and my wife used to tell me all the time, there was this one professor who I did not deal with well, and it really kind of led to my downward spiral out of nursing school the first time. And my wife would always say, she's like, just stop focusing on her. And I just couldn't. The anxiety, when anxiety takes root, it's there, and you just can't get it out, whether that's over a test or a person or a grade or whatever. And so I think what Kelly's saying is just, it's so important. Take those moments to reward yourself. Find something, find anybody. And even more, Kelly got over the, and we're nurses for God's sakes, but she got over that stigma of getting help professionally for anxiety. You guys get the help you need, get whatever it is that you need, because don't let something like that stop you from reaching your why. Sorry.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I've been reading the chat as you guys have been talking, and so many people relate to you, Kelly, being older students, I guess. 40 is.
Hey, Tammy, watch it.
Doesn't look so old to me anymore. John's always saying, you're closer to 40 than you are 30 now. So.
How old are you now, Tammy? What is it, 30?
36.
What?
36 years young. So thank you, Kelly, so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. You were telling me how you had a test today, so I appreciate you doing that for us. And John, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Looks like it worked.
On vacation with your children.
Not
so
vacation.
I appreciate that. So Kelly did mention earlier on that she joined nursing.com when we were having the 3-day $1 trial. We actually are offering that right now as well. I'm going to put a link up there. If you guys want to go in there and check it out like Kelly did, you can do that for $1 for 3 days and see if it's right for you, see if the learning style is conducive to yours. So without anything else you guys want to say? No?
Thank you, Kelly. I can't thank you enough. I think people need to hear these stories. They need to hear that they're not alone. And so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for including me in this. And one last thing, when you were talking about, finding somebody to be in your corner and cheer you on, it's okay to get rid of the toxic people too. If they're people who tell you that you can't do it, it's okay to leave them behind too. You're not going to have to invite them to graduation. Just they'll see you in your cap and gown on Instagram and Facebook, and they'll know you made it without them.
That's right. Exactly.
Tammy, so in 55 days, make sure Courtney has a graduation present on her door, and make sure we see that picture, that success picture.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. We will send you one. I actually got her address today, John. Don't worry. All right, guys. Thank you so much. If you guys have any other questions for Kelly, just send me a message on DM and I'll reach out to her and ask her whatever. Without anything else, I wish you guys a happy week and go out and be your best selves, and happy nursing.
Happy nursing.
Happy nursing. Thank y'all.
Bye.